I wanted to tell you so many times, but I couldn't. I kept this from you, so you could have the life you'd always dreamed of. I did everything because I love...
Master!
Hello, I'm Cinemod470, and yes, I am doing this video because my last one did so well. Whenever a new Star Wars installment comes out slightly better than the one before, the fanbase tends to praise it as a masterpiece and takes it as a sign that Star Wars is finally getting back on track. Only for opinions to shift after taking a critical look at the installment and realize that though there are some good qualities, there are also quite a few bad ones. Except with Andor, that show definitely deserves its praise. After Maul Shadow Lord finished Season 1, there was a polarizing reaction to it. It was either the best thing to come out of Star Wars, or just more of the same Star Wars. Now I have my own opinions and criticisms about the season, but for this video, I like to focus on something they did right, which was Jedi Padawan Devon's fall to the dark side, and how it was an improvement from Osha's fall in the Acolyte. For this comparison, I'll be going over both Devon and Osha's respective character arcs, their relationships with their Jedi Masters, how the Jedi are characterized in both their shows, and why they joined their series' Dark Lord. So there will of course be spoilers for both shows. Also, feel free to check out my full review on the Acolyte, as I go more in depth into the series. And if you like what I do, hit the like button, comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe if you haven't. It costs you nothing, but for me, it tells the algorithm to push my content to more people. I said it before, and I'll say it again. Osha is an inconsistent character. When Osha wanted to leave home to become a Jedi, her sister tried to burn Osha to death to keep her from leaving. And since she believed May was the cause of her entire family dying, Osha was left with a deep-seated anger which caused her to leave the Order before her training was complete. And despite all this being confirmed with verbal statements from the characters, and knowing that May has killed 2 Jedi that Osha was close to and intends to kill her surrogate father, Osha intentionally misses the shot to stun May and lets her escape. And though that desire to arrest May returns when they next meet, when Osha gets back to Coruscant beforehand, she gives up on finding May, saying she's satisfied knowing her sister is alive, despite the fact she was motivated by revenge to catch her because of the aforementioned stuff she did.
She killed my family. She destroyed my life. I deserve justice.
You want revenge.
You're not staying?
I've done what I needed to do. I may never have known for certain May was alive. And thanks to you, I've seen her with my own eyes, even if I failed to stop her.
I figured you'd stay until we apprehended her. I mean, you must be curious after all this time.
May is the Jedi's problem now. And I'm not a Jedi.
And this inconsistent behavior isn't limited to her relationship with May, but also with Sol and Qimir. Though Sol did kill Osha's mother after she became a smoke demon, Sol has for the most part been a supportive parental figure for most of Osha's life. But after Osha finds out the truth, she force chokes him to death. Now, whether you argue this was in Osha's character due to her supposed issues with negative emotions...
I could never learn to calm my negative emotions.
Just say anger, you knob! Excuse me. The question gets raised as to why she didn't try to kill Qimir after witnessing him kill 2 of her friends. Especially when Osha and Qimir don't have the same amount of history she had with Sol. Because of this consistent inconsistency, the spectators can't get invested in Osha's character arc since her character shifts with each episode. Devon, on the other hand, is consistent, and it makes sense as to why she would join Maul at the end of her character arc. Though Devon tries to maintain her integrity and ideals as a Jedi throughout the season, because she's constantly on the run from the Empire, she's willing to break the law for her friends and her own survival. Devon also feels that she was robbed of her chance of becoming a Jedi Knight and denied her destiny, while also believing that as a Jedi, she should be doing more to help fix the galaxy rather than just surviving. But due to her still being a Padawan, Devon doesn't have the strength to put up a meaningful fight. And these character traits lead her to becoming Maul's apprentice because he draws on her desire to combat the Empire, but spotlights her inability to fight because of how weak she is. and he can provide her the training and power she needs. There's also the argument that from a certain point of view, Maul is the same as Devon, as he's constantly on the run from the Empire, is willing to break the law for his survival, and though he wasn't a Jedi, he was robbed of a great destiny. And Maul manages to tap into that common ground to give himself a sense of familiarity.
I suppose concern for your well-being doesn't fit with what you've been told about me, but I invite you to look more closely.
I see a murderer.
Well, we do what we must to survive. Perhaps in the days since the Jedi fell, you can relate.
I know what you're doing. We're nothing alike.
Are we not? You were part of an order poised to serve the Republic. You don't realize the fragility of these institutions until they're ripped away. I felt certain of my destiny once as well, but that was before my master cast me aside. I had to find my own way.
There's also a very clear difference in how both Osha and Devon's character arcs frame the dark side. The Acolyte views the dark side as an alternative way of living, and the Jedi are wrong for trying to snuff it out. Because when Osha turns, her personality remains the same as it was when we first meet her, so her descent doesn't have any meaningful impact to the spectators. Especially since the ending of the Acolyte is played up as this hopeful conclusion, with Osha and Qimir holding hands as they look over the horizon. But Shadow Lord does it right by framing the dark side as a corruptive force that brings out the worst in people. And every time Devon gives in to her anger, the show's tone portrays how this may lead to either her ruin or the ruin of everyone around her. And the season ending shows Devon having a massive character shift in accepting Maul as her master. When it comes to the Jedi, George Lucas has gone on the record in saying how they're the most moral people in the galaxy, so it's not an insignificant challenge to write a story where one of their number believably turns to the dark side. And the method usually depends on how well the writer understands the Jedi and uses their philosophy to clash with the fallen Jedi's character. The Acolyte, however, doesn't do that. It instead tries to make the spectators hate the Jedi and root for Osha and Qimir getting together to bring them down. Though the Acolyte is set during the High Republic era, where the Jedi are meant to be at the height of their power and not yet entangled with the politics of the Senate, the show portrays the Jedi as a corrupt organization who police other Force users, cover up multiple murders, and are afraid of losing their power. So basically, the writers flip the Jedi and Sith's morality, and instead of mourning the loss of these keepers of the peace, the spectators are supposed to cheer for their justified demise, which goes against everything that's been established about the Jedi since 1997.
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic.
And the series doesn't even do a good job at making the villainization of the Jedi believable. The Force witches they killed only died because they escalated the conflict, with May starting the fire, Mother Coral preparing to attack Jedi Torben, Mother Anastasia turning into a smoke demon, and the rest of the Coven mind-dominating Jedi Kalnaka. The only Jedi the show successfully makes us hate is Venestra, because her actions should be anathema to the Order, like keeping secrets from the High Council about a Force-using assassin, and framing Sol for the murdered Jedi instead of her old Padawan.
While this is a terrible tragedy, it was the work of one flawed man.
Bullshit!
And the Acolyte tries to establish that there is tension between Osha and the Jedi, but it doesn't match the events of the show. Though the Jedi accused Osha of murder, she was only arrested because they had a witness statement and no other suspects. But after Sol finds her, he immediately believes that her twin sister is the killer, and Osha is cleared of all charges. They even have a moment to reconcile about why Osha left the Order, and how they were both partially to blame.
I wanted to save you both.
What happened that night wasn't your fault, Sol. I've told you that.
You did. And I have made peace with what happened on Brandok.
I know you have. That was a lesson you tried to teach me many times. To accept what I'd lost. And I wasn't a very good student.
Perhaps I wasn't a very good teacher.
And Osha's hatred of Sol later in the season feels forced, because like her, he's an inconsistent character. For the first half of The Acolyte, Sol acts as a protective father figure to Osha, But when he discovers that May has replaced her, he doesn't try to find out where she is. Sol instead takes May back to Brendok to prove that they were made with a Force Virgins. And sure, Sol did kill Osha's mum, but I think she would have had a less violent reaction if he said he did it because she turned into a smoke demon and thought she was disintegrating Osha. While the Acolyte demolishes the Jedi by saying they aren't really good as their power has corrupted them, Shadow Lord on the other hand deconstructs the Jedi by asking what can peacekeepers do in a galaxy where they have no authority. Though it can be argued that Disney has been overusing the Empire era in its Star Wars properties, Shadow Lord being set right after the fall of the Jedi portrays how they were necessary for peace throughout the galaxy as the Empire is rapidly encroaching on it. The time period also puts Devon in the perfect place for her to be at odds with her master Daki. What makes Devon turn from the Jedi teachings isn't because of some absurd conspiracy or sudden character shift. It's because though she wants to be a Jedi, the entire season has challenged her perspective on the Jedi way, believing it no longer works, as the galaxy has become a ruthless place and she has to adapt with the times. And though Daki is still maintaining his Jedi ideology, there are 3 scenes that steadily make Devon's perspective align with Maul's. When we first see them together, they are living on the streets, and seeing how hungry Daki is, Devon suggests stealing food, but Daki wants to maintain their Jedi ideals and not become thieves, instead relying on the charity of strangers. After seeing that charity fall short, Devon tries to steal the food. Then there's their duel with Maul. Before they fight, Daki is negotiating for Maul's surrender, but Maul retorts with how the Jedi's passive ideology has caused them to lose their authority in the current galaxy, and says that as Jedi they should use their power to their fullest ability and be respected leaders in the galaxy instead of living like beggars. While Daki rejects this idea as the wrong way to live, as power should be used to serve others. And Maul counters by saying how that mentality has gotten them crushed by those who are inferior to them, and that their unwillingness to use their full power makes them weak. All the while, Devon is listening to every word, and Maul defeating Daki gives his argument more weight in Devon's mind, because he used his full strength and won. Finally, the fight with Vader and the Inquisitors is what pushes Devon over the edge, as Maul says the only way to beat them is to give in to her hatred and change the way she fights, as their enemies have trained to counter Jedi tactics. But Daki says giving into their anger isn't the way, and that their true power lies in their patience and cunning. And though Daki puts up a good fight, he still dies. So from Devon's perspective, if she wants to defeat the Empire and avenge her master, she has to let go of what she's learned from Daki and learn from Maul. All that being said, unlike how the Acolyte uses the Jedi's mistakes to frame them all as untrustworthy, Shadow Lord shows the spectators moments where Daki is right, even though Devon doesn't always see it. Though asking for help doesn't work, when Devon steals the food, she gets arrested. Though Maul's strength overwhelms Daki, his single strike to Maul's knee puts him at a disadvantage for the rest of the season, proving that overwhelming strength doesn't always have a strong foundation. And though Vader killed Daki, he was the only one who defeated an Inquisitor, and he lasted the longest against Vader. And who knows, if Maul didn't wuss out during the fight, they might have had a chance to beat Vader back enough for them all to escape. So the series does showcase that there is merit to Daki's wisdom, though it isn't instantly gratifying, which basically sums up the duality between the Force and the dark side.
Is the dark side stronger?
No. But easier, more seductive.
Another important difference between Devon and Osha is that though Devon disagrees with her master, she never goes as far as to hate him, especially since no matter how dire the situation gets, Daki maintains his composure and acts as Devon's lifeline in this dangerous galaxy. So unlike how Osha's turn to the dark side began with her killing Sol, Devon's turn begins with her witnessing Vader kill Daki. It's also a smart move from a narrative perspective for Vader to kill Daki, as him dying this way makes it easier for Maul to manipulate Devon, as she now has to rely on him if she wants to get her revenge. Which is a great segue to our final topic. The important aspect of a Jedi's turn is who is trying to tempt them, how they're doing it, and why the Jedi would go against everything they know and turn to the dark side. So it's paramount that the two characters have a strong relationship. And Osha and Qimir don't really have that. After witnessing Qimir kill her friends, then try to kill Sol, and then waking up in his home base, Osha barely tries to fight him. Instead, she decides to hear him out, even though the Acolyte has established Osha left the Order because she couldn't let go of her hatred for May because she believed May burned her family alive. And the only previous interaction Osha's had with Qimir was when he was pretending to be a hapless underling. So not only should Osha not trust a word Qimir says, but she should also be in a fury by his very presence and doing everything she can to kill him. But all Qimir has to do to sway Osha to his side is to counter every accusation she says with a flimsy argument that wouldn't hold up if Osha had more than 3 brain cells.
You murdered my friends.
I killed Jedi. I killed those who threatened my existence.
You killed Yord.
A man who didn't hesitate to turn you in for a crime you didn't commit.
You killed Jackie.
And where did you think that was going to go? You would have had the same relationship with her that you have with your master. One-sided.
First of all, Jedi are a threat to the Sith's existence because the Sith are a threat to everybody since they want to take over the galaxy. And secondly, Qimir was the one who picked a fight with them, after already killing another Jedi in his own home. Now, when it comes to his statement about Yord, it is technically true, but Osha knows Yord only arrested her because he had a witness statement and no other suspects at the time. And when Osha was found with another murdered Jedi's body, it was Yord who proved her innocence. As for Jackie, whether or not they would have started a relationship is irrelevant to the fact that she was murdered. Is Qimir saying Jackie's life only matters if she was Osha's girlfriend? Because that's incel behavior. However, Maul's corruption of Devon is given Maul time to cook because they have more than 3 interactions before she starts to hear him out. And Maul has to actually make an effort to turn Devon because she knows his history and is extremely perturbed by his presence. So the season makes their first few interactions a lesson, so it sets up Devon's turn while also setting up the foundation for their future relationship. The first lesson is when Devon's locked up, and Maul gives her a chance to think of an unconventional way out to make her widen her perspective. The next lesson is when they're fighting, and Maul is showing Devon how out of her depth she is, and she begins to tap into her anger to overpower him, a lesson that gets compounded when they fight again with her master Daki, and Maul manages to defeat both of them, showing Devon that restraining her power will get her killed. And finally, when Devon fights her first Inquisitor, Maul steps in to help, and shows her that by working together, they can beat the Jedi Hunter. And throughout the entire season, Maul is displaying his power to Devon, further cementing the idea that working with him is necessary to not only survive the Empire, but getting her revenge on the people who killed her master. Shadow Lord even handles Maul's fight with Devon and Daki better than Qimir's fight with the Jedi. For the entire battle, Qimir is the aggressor, showing off his destructive power and mercilessly killing whoever is in his way. So like I said before, Osha should be a lot more hostile towards him. But with Maul's duel, Devon and Daki are the ones who pick the fight with him, and he only ignites his lightsaber when negotiations have ended. And though he roughs them up, Maul doesn't kill either of them. In fact, for most of the season, Maul only escalates the violence to match what Devon gives him.
Are we nothing alike?
Delightful conversation, but I'll be going now.
That's good. I can work with that. But you won't like it.
Devon's fall to the dark side works because her plot puts in the effort to make it a natural descent. It doesn't contradict any of the characters' motivations or relationships, it doesn't frame the Jedi as villains, and the current reign of the Empire gives Devon and Maul a common enemy, while setting up the groundwork of how she might have to make an alliance with someone powerful for her own survival. Whereas Osha's fall to the dark side doesn't work because her plot bends to the writer's whim. Though Osha's motivations and struggles with anger are verbally stated, she only follows through on them when it creates drama. Though the Jedi are canonically the defenders of peace and justice, their morality has been completely flipped with the Siths. And though the dark side of the Force was written to be an easy path to power that corrupts all those who use it by magnifying their worst aspects, Osha's story frames it as an alternative path to power that has little to no downsides. It all makes Osha's turn to the dark side an easy decision, instead of a tragic descent.
As he begins to untie a belted knot from around his waist, she straightens up for a better look. He begins to undress, revealing a prominent scar on his well-toned back. Dropping his billowy-legged hakama pants, he steps forward with the sunlight accentuating his taut muscles.